Hey guys, today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/Fred. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, MP3 player. That's audibletrial.com/Fred. But for now, enjoy the show. Hey guys, hello everyone, come on in, relax, sit down, have a cup of coffee, get on a treadmill. I don't know, maybe you're doing dishes, maybe you're doing laundry, maybe you're driving to work, whatever. Hey, thank you so much for joining the Creative Magic. Ooh yeah, the Creative Magic Unchained. Hey, I have questions for you. Do you aspire to a creative life? Are you tired of working 9 to 5? Are you asking yourself, what is the point of it all? Or do you want to take your creativity to the next level? That's it. Welcome to the Creative Magic Unchained. This podcast is about unleashing your creativity. We talk to experts. We step into the unknown. It is an inspirational podcast. It is a magical podcast. It is an intuitive podcast. As we chat with enigmatic, charismatic artists from around the world, musicians, singers, radio hosts, business people, photographers, everything in between. It's there, it's here, it's live, it's right now. I am Frederick Bai, and I am the Tower of Power. Too sweet to be sour, I'm funky like a monkey. Sky is the limit and space is the place. I am your host. I am a businessman, I'm an artist, I'm a friend, I'm a partner, I'm an animal lover, I'm a writer, I'm a blogger, I'm a podcaster, I'm everything under the sun. This podcast is free every time you download it on iTunes. Thank you so much for tuning in. So yeah, you can download it on iTunes or Stitcher. Please go over there, subscribe. It is listener supported, so tell a friend, leave a 5-star review. It really, really helps a brother out. When you do that, if you really enjoy it, share it with somebody else. Share it with someone that's important to you, that you think can benefit from this audio. And for more podcasts, free gifts, Q&A articles, subscribe at frederickbai.com, on Twitter at ByFred, on Facebook, that's right, Frederick Bai, and check out my YouTube channel. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, Frederick Bai, for previous episodes and the latest episodes. Alrighty. Today, we have an amazing woman, a woman with a lot of experience, a wise woman, a woman who is doing it. And you know what? She's doing it, and she's giving us great advice here. Her name is Bree Noble. That's right. She is an entrepreneur, musician, a speaker. She founded Women of Substance Radio and podcast to promote quality female artists in all genres. That's right. The podcast, a 5-day-per-week show which promotes independent female artists. Hit number 1 in new and noteworthy in all 3 of its categories, and number 4 audio podcast on all of iTunes. That's right. She draws on her extensive experience running her own music business, both as a solo musician and as an industry professional, to train and mentor other female musicians through her Female Musician Academy. On her weekly podcast, Female Entrepreneur Musician, and she's also number 1 in new and noteworthy, by the way. She conducts interviews with successful indie female artists and industry pros that are both inspirational and informational. You can learn more about Women of Substance at wosradio.com and about Female Entrepreneur Musician at femusician.com. Hey, you're gonna discover a wonderful lady here. Bree Noble, I love that conversation. Learned a lot. Inspiring, kind lady. So we're gonna get to the conversation right after this. Quick thanks to RadioGuestList.com, where you can find people to interview for free. Thank you guys. Thank you for your support. And for advertisement offers, you can reach me at info@frederickbai.com. That's info@frederickbai.com, and use the subject advertising. All right. So hello. So we are here with Bree Noble. She's an entrepreneur, musician, and a speaker. How are you today?
I'm great.
Fabulous. Great. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. It's an honor. So right before we dive into the subject of creativity, talk to us a little bit about your background.
Sure. So, I got a degree in music and business, and I was trying to be an independent musician after school, but I really didn't know what I was doing. So I ended up working as a director of finance at an opera company, which was cool because it combined both of the passions that I had for business and for music. But still, the whole time I was trying to do, what I loved, my creative side, being a musician. And I was just struggling because I didn't really know how to break into the industry and all that. So that was where I started. And once I ended up quitting the corporate world, I ended up going full time into music and finally figuring out how it all worked. Once I had the time to really focus on it, and I was able to take control of my career and figure out that I needed to be responsible for making things happen in my own career. And that's when I started doing music full time and touring, and was doing that for several years. Before then, I started working as a business person in the music industry, owning my own radio station and podcast, and then now helping female musicians with their careers.
Mm-hmm. See, I think that's always fascinating to me how people make the transition. I mean, I speak to so many people now, and it's like we all have kind of the same story. Most people, they went through the corporate world, then they leave it, and then they become like authors, musicians, magicians. Like, it's crazy. Okay, so right before we dive into your current business, how did you grow up with creative people around you? Were adults around you did they encourage your creativity?
Well, my mom was an artist, so I was not artistic in any way. All my artisticness went into music, but she was an artist. She, as I grew up, she was always doing art all the time, always doing projects. And, so she saw my musical side, and she encouraged me in that way because being an artist, she saw the value of that. And then mostly just the adults along the way were like my choir director in high school. She was so encouraging. And then in college, my voice teacher just really got me on the right track of understanding my own voice and, encouraged me to be creative with my voice and sing all kinds of different styles.
So you had a lot of support then. Because certain families, it's kind of taboo. if you say, hey, I want to sing, I want to, make music or something. So you had an entourage where people supported you.
Yeah, definitely. But I hear from a lot of my artists, that I work with, that some of them are from families that didn't support that. They actually discouraged the creativity. Yeah. And that's just really sad to me, because if you've got this talent, you feel like this God-given talent and you need to share it with the world, there's nothing more frustrating than people going, oh, that's not really that important. Be practical. Like, that's the one thing that you always get as a musician. Like, you need to be practical. You can, people telling you can never really do this as a career, and why are you even trying, and I didn't have much of that because I was lucky to have that kind of support, but I certainly have met a lot of people along the way that have had that kind of resistance.
Mm-hmm. Then let me ask you this then. How did you end up not in music and in the corporate world?
I'm sorry, you cut out. What was the question?
The question was, how did you end up in the corporate world?
How did I end up in the corporate world? Well, basically, I was, while I was in school, I was a vocal major and I really wanted to do music, but I had my practical side and I said, what if this doesn't work out? I better have something to fall back on. So I went ahead and got a degree in business, specifically accounting. And then when I left school, I ended up getting married almost right away. My husband was in graduate school and, we lived in Orange County, California, which is one of the most expensive places to live. And he was only making like $1,000 a month on his stipend. while he was in school. Luckily, he had a stipend, and he had free tuition and all that. But still, it wasn't, I had to like find something that was actually going to pay the bills. And so, of course, I fell back on my accounting. And I thought, well, I'll just start doing this, and then I'll do music on the side, and then eventually I'll quit. Well, you know how that goes. It's hard to then quit when you see that money coming in. It's hard to go, I'm going to go out and do music and suddenly start eating top ramen every day,
Mm-hmm. And okay, so now you're doing the you're an accountant. Music to go from accounting to music or music to accounting. I mean, it's a huge contrast. All right, so when you were an accountant, did it eat at you a little bit? the musical side of you, like not, knocking on your consciousness kind of and saying, hey, what about me?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, luckily so when I first started, I was working in a water purification company, and that was when it really, really bothered me, because I'm like, I'm not doing anything that's creative at all. I'm just crunching numbers and writing out invoices and stuff and figuring out, what we made every month. So I, was searching for something, and I was lucky enough to find the position at the opera company. And at least there I was around creative people. And I got to go to operas, and I got to go to fancy parties and be around artists and musicians all the time. And, although I wasn't doing anything, singing for the opera, it was still better than just working straight in the corporate world. But of course, all along the way, I was in bands. I was I performed at churches and weddings and all that stuff. And I was in a band that, we made a CD and all that stuff. And I worked, my work schedule around that. And it was difficult, but at least my creative side was being fed, but I was still frustrated because I wasn't moving forward in my music career.
All right. So what was the breakthrough that you said, you know what? Screw the accounting. I'm a musician. This is what I'm going to do.
Well, I wish it was that easy. It's more like what happened was I had a baby, number one. And secondly, in the opera world, it's a very stressful job to be the director of finance because money is never coming in an even way. When we're selling season tickets, we have a ton of money. And then, when it gets to the time of year when we're not selling many tickets and we're relying on donations, then it's like scraping by. And so it's just really a stressful job. And so eventually the stress of the job, and after having a baby and trying to balance that, it was just too much and it was taking a toll on my health. And so I said, you know what, I know this is really good money, but I need to take care of myself. I need to take care of my family. And so I decided to quit that job. And once I was home with my daughter and with just focusing on that, I had a lot more time to spend figuring out how to do the music thing. And that was when I really had my breakthrough of figuring out that I could do this on my own. And I needed to do this on my own because no one was going to come in and hand me a music career. And so I just spent a lot of time figuring out what I needed to do to get fans, to get bookings, and to just start booking my own tours.
See, that's very interesting what you just said. No one is going to hand me a music career. And I think, that relates to everything else. The entire art, whether you're a writer and, any type of creative endeavors, no one is going to hand you this, the career. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think what you just said is because I think some people, they kind of sit at home, they say, okay, I want to be a musician, but they kind of don't do anything, or I want to be a writer. Okay, I'm going to put out a book. I'm going to upload it on Amazon.
Well,
but there's everything around it that, that matters really. All the promotion you do.
Right. Well, I see that all the time in that artists, they think that they can't do anything on their own and that they need, if I just had a booking agent or if I just had a manager, if I just had a label, then I would suddenly have a career. And number one, that doesn't always work that way. And it's scary to rely on all these other people. And there's so many artists who don't understand the business side of it and they rely on all these other people, and then they get screwed over, But secondly, nowadays there's not all this money out there for artist development at labels. And so you have to actually get their attention before they're even going to pay attention to you anyway. And sometimes by the time you get their attention, you've built such a great fan base that you don't want to use a label, because then you have to pay them a whole bunch of money. And you can keep all that money for yourself if you've got, kind of the fan base already built and you've got your whole system working for you, then you don't need a record label.
Let me ask you this. You have a child. You have a son,
No,
right?
actually I have two daughters.
2 daughters. Okay, sorry. You have 2 daughters. What if the two of them, one of them were okay, they get to be 17, 19, time to make a career decision. They come to you and they say, hey, I really want to be a musician or a painter, and I really don't want to go to college. What would you tell them?
Well, that's a little difficult because my husband's a college professor. So it would be really hard for me to say, don't go to college, because there's no reason why you can't have a music career and go to college. And I think that there's so much personal development that happens during college that it's not even about like the professional career that you're going to have after college. I think it's an important time of growing and learning about yourself and maturing. And I would want my children to go to college regardless. And I'm fine if they want to go to college for music. And I think it's really important to get that background because, yes, you have a musical talent, but you can hone so many of your skills in school for music that you wouldn't be able to do. I mean, I know for me, I did so much analyzing of music, so much music theory, that now I can jump into a band situation and they can say, okay, this song is in this key, and I can pretty much follow without even having a chart or anything, because I have the knowledge of the key and, the relative chords and all that stuff that I would never have had if I didn't go to college. So there's definitely a reason to go to college. And, you can, like I did, if you want to go in music and then add something, more practical, or add the business side to help you with the business side of music. I think that's very valuable, but I would still encourage my kids to go to college.
Once again, this is Frédéric Bayer, and you are listening to the Creative Magic Unchained, and we are here with Bree Noble. She's an entrepreneur, a musician, a speaker, a podcaster. All right, so now you're doing the music thing. Okay, you're beginning to you're beginning to get known a little bit. Let's dive into the fears, because I think that the creative endeavors, people want to do creative things with their life. They want to, dive into the creative life and be inspired and live an inspired life. We're rigged with fear. You have a 9-to-5 job. And I don't know, from my experience, there are 3 fears that, really, paralyze a lot of people. Number 1 is lack of money. Number 2 is rejection. And number 3 is failure. Let's start off with money. What if somebody was going to come to you, and ask you, I have a 9-to-5 job, but I'm not, I want to sing, I want to do music, but I'm not sure how to go about it because I want to be able to pay my bills. What would you tell them? Well,
I would want to find out the skills in music that they have, first of all, and what they're willing to do. Because a lot of people say, I want to be a singer-songwriter and I want to do that full time. Well, that's great, but you might not be able to reach that right away. And you need to search your soul to find out what other musical related things you'd be willing to do to bring in the money, so you can do this full time. If it's more important to you to be doing music your whole day, and, it's not maybe always on your terms of what kind of music you're doing, but you're still doing music and that's going to be better than sitting in a cubicle, then absolutely I would say go for it. But you need to say, what other skills in music do I have? Can I teach? Plenty of the people that I work with teach during the day. They teach voice students, they teach, an instrumental students, and you can make good money doing that. Do you have a home studio? Can you record demos? That's one of the things that I did when I first started, is recorded a lot of demos for songwriters at, $100 a pop. Can you sing at weddings? Is it beneath you? Do you feel like it's beneath you to sing at weddings or funerals? Or can you sing a bunch of cover songs and go perform at restaurants who are willing to pay you? It's not all about your own music, especially not at first. And I know a lot of people that are super successful singing in cover bands, making good money, and then throwing in a few of their originals there. And they, will tell the audience, here's one of our originals. And if you want to come see us play, here's some information on where you can see us play all of our originals. And so it's a good way of marketing as well as actually making money, because people want to pay you to do songs that they know.
Would you say that to be a creative person, to be a musician, to be an artist, you absolutely have to be a business person?
A business person?
Yes.
If you are not a business person and you just the idea of business has a really bad taste in your mouth, then you better have somebody that you trust alongside of you working that side of the business. And at least you better try to understand it, even if you don't want to do it on a day-to-day basis. You need to be able to have checks and balances to see that person that's handling for you is really working in your best interest. But you definitely need somebody on your team that understands the business side, or you're going to have a big problem, I think.
See, it's funny. I interviewed a musician recently, and he told me, certain people, certain artists, their brain just doesn't work business-wise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're great artists, but when it comes to the business side of things, their brain just doesn't function the right way.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I see that all the time. And that's why I think
it's not that they're stupid. They're not stupid. It's just that their brain is,
That's why I think people think I'm a little bit of a weird combination, because I do both of them. And that's why I think I have some unique skill sets that can help artists, because I can understand the artists, but I also understand the business side, and I see all the things that they don't want to have to deal with. And I can maybe try to feed it to them in a little bit, smaller bites and a little bit more, a way that they can handle, give it to them with a spoonful of sugar.
All right. What about failure? It sucks to fail. It's painful to fail. It's humbling to fail. Many people are afraid to fail, and it's very understandable.
I would say if you're not willing to fail, then don't do it, because you will fail. I can guarantee that you will fail in some areas, but you will also succeed. And if you look at any performer that you think maybe is just, an overnight success, you'll find out that they've been touring and playing at bars and playing it at bar mitzvahs and weddings for the last 10 years to get where they are now. You just haven't seen that because that's been in the background, and that's, hasn't been publicized because they didn't want to publicize that, but that's what they've been doing to hone their skills. And, so you're definitely gonna fail, and you're never gonna be, the chance of you being like an overnight success is about 1 in 10 billion. So just know that there's going to be some failures along the way, and you need to be okay with that. And I would say that if you're not working outside of your comfort zone every day and feeling like you're about to fall off of a ledge most of the time, then you're not actually pushing yourself.
I love that. I love that. All right. What about rejection? It's like dating, it sucks to be rejected. It's inevitable, but tell us, how do you deal with that?
Oh, it absolutely sucks to be rejected. And
you know what? Even indifference is even worse than a no. When somebody is indifferent from your work.
Yeah. I think even major artists deal with rejection, and not everybody is going to like your music. And, I certainly have my share of haters for whatever reason. Everybody that puts themselves out there is going to have their share of haters. They're going to see some negative comments on social media. And, I hear from a lot of artists, like, don't read your own YouTube comments. because people can be mean because they're anonymous, you know? And so always have someone else read your YouTube comments that's on your team and then have them pull out the ones that are good. And so you can read those and keep those, because the negative stuff always sticks with you so much longer than the positive. So, you know, I would keep a list of all your positive comments, not just for promotional purposes, but you definitely should keep those and have them on your website for promotional purposes, but just to steel yourself against the bad ones. Because I know for me, like when my first album came out, you know, everybody loved it. I was being played on different radio stations, but there was one radio station that was from my hometown. And my mom took it over to the guy there, and he knew my mom and everything. And so she called back like a week later, and he's like, no, we're not going to play it. And she's like, why not? I didn't think her voice was very good, you know, and that has just stuck with me forever. It's like, it doesn't matter how many, you know, awards I've won and how many times I've played at, you know, major venues. That one guy from my hometown who wouldn't play my music is like still in my head. So I always have to keep a list of things, of good things, of things that I need to be grateful for that are happening in my career to look at whenever something like that happens, just to steel myself against that rejection that creeps in and it starts like infecting you with negativity.
Yeah, you know, that's, I mean, I can relate to that, you know, I mean, I remember when I think like the first time I started to tweet for my business and my, you know, my brand and all that stuff. I think like the first day I tweeted like, oh, sign up for this, whatever. And just a guy just answered no. And just you know, just tweeted no.
Right.
Anyway, so it's like, and I still remember it, you know what I mean? I still remember, and it's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how many people sign up. It's like that one guy said no.
Yeah, just no. Anyway, all right, so we are here with Bree Noble. She is an entrepreneur, podcaster, musician, a speaker. All right, so what are you doing now? Talk to us a little bit about what you're doing. You're a podcaster. You're doing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. So after I was a touring musician, and while I was a touring musician, I met a lot of great female artists like myself, and I wanted to create a platform to help promote them. So I ended up creating an online radio station called Women of Substance Radio, and I started that back in 2007. And over time, that's been growing and growing. And then 2014, end of 2014, I started the podcast in relation to that. And it really took off. It was number one new and noteworthy in all of its categories for days and days and weeks and even months until it was kicked off of new and noteworthy because it wasn't new anymore. And so, you know, we've had over 150,000 downloads. We were just nominated for a Podcaster's Paradise Award. So I'm pretty excited about, you know, the way that the podcast has gone and really expanded the reach of the radio station. And, you know, they're just feeding off of each other and promoting all of the artists that I promote on there, because on the radio station, I play label artists that you would know, but alongside of them, I play independent artists that you haven't heard, but you'll find that the quality of those artists is pretty equal to the label artists.
Mm-hmm. What is the station?
Yeah, it's wosradio.com. Mm-hmm. So you can go there and listen, or you can also just look it up on any app store and look for Women of Substance, and you'll find our radio app and our podcast.
Okay, cool. What about your music? So,
as far as like my personal music?
Yeah. So what do? You still tour, I think. Are you? Well,
I don't still tour at the moment. I have kids that are kind of that age that's really hard to tour, and I just didn't want to be gone that much for them. And there's one reason I moved into working with musicians instead of being a touring artist, is so I could be home with my kids. But the last thing that I did in my music career is I released a Christmas album in 2011. And I'm still every year promoting that and doing well with that as far as doing concerts around Christmas. And, you know, I still perform with my church and locally. And I'm, of course, working on the business side with the Female Musician Academy, helping other independent female artists with the business side of their music and using all my experience in both my personal career and my business career to, really answer questions that they have about different aspects of their business.
See, you work with, your podcast is really about, you're really promoting, women. I did a little bit of research on you, and you're really out there helping women, in the music industry. What is and you speak to a lot of women, what is the main thing, the common thread that you see in women as far as their fears or their concerns about, doing this music thing?
I think women do still feel like there's a little bit of a discrimination. I think if you listen to the radio long enough, you'll realize that maybe only 20% of what you hear is women artists, especially, if I listen to any country station or I listen to, the Sirius XM, the Pulse or anything, there are some great female artists out there, but the representation is still, to me, much too low considering the talent that's out there. So I think female artists feel frustrated in that area, and that's where I'm trying to help them with women of substance, to just really give them another platform to get their music out there. But as far as, I think they have a lot of the same general frustrations as the independent male artists in not understanding how to build their fan base, not understanding that they need to take charge of their own career. And, I see so many artists that submit music to me, and then I go and I look for information about them online and I can't find anything. And I'm like, do you guys expect people to find your music when you have no website, you have no social media presence, there's no information about you? And sometimes I'll get information back like, well, I'm working on a deal with a label, and then once I get that deal, then they'll do all that for me. And I'm thinking, first of all, no, they won't. Second of all, if they do, then you won't own any of that. You won't have any control over it. So, a big thing that I try to get through to artists is you need to have your own website. You need to have your own way of attracting fans.
Wow. I hear that from writers too, authors too. Same thing. Put out a book. They think that they get to get the publishing deal and all the marketing will be done for them. But as you said, I'm surprised to me that it's the same in the music industry. There's no way around it, I feel now. You kind of have to be your kind of own little business.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
All right, let me ask you this then. What is the number one habit that fuels your creative life?
The number one thing that fuels my creative life.
Habit. It can be a habit.
A habit. Okay. I would say when I was doing a lot of songwriting, it was writing every day. I would set aside 30 minutes in the morning to write. And I noticed that not only did I get a lot of good writing done, and sometimes none of that turned into a song, but it was just kind of sparking the creative juices, but I found that it put me in a creative place. So then, maybe when I was exercising at the gym or I was walking my daughter to preschool, all of a sudden these lyrics would start coming into my head, or, a melody would start coming into my head, or I'd start thinking about all these, song topics for songs that I could write. And it was just like a muscle. I needed to activate it, and I needed to keep using it every day. And it's amazing how it blossomed.
What inspires you to create? Is there something that inspires you to create? Some people, it's nature, a walk in nature, just feel, animals, meditation. What inspires you to create? I
definitely think I'm inspired by nature sometimes. Just the amazing creation around us. And how small I am in the vastness of that. But, also just my own experiences. I know it's kind of cliche. Most songwriters say that they write from their own experiences, but I think it's a very true thing, because you feel like, they're my own experiences, but most of them are also somewhat universal. And so other people are going to be able to relate to them. And so I usually write from a place of struggle to a place of inspiration and encouragement in most of my songs.
What would you say to someone who fears he or she is not a creative person? A lot of people think that.
I guess I would just say to do like I said, exercise the creative muscle. And that's when you'll find out if you really are a creative person or not. I think everyone's creative in some way, but you need to figure out what your medium is. Is it if you start writing every day and you realize you love writing, but you actually know music is coming to you, then maybe you should be a writer. So just try to exercise your creativity in some way and see if that inspires you. And if it doesn't, then try a different medium.
Do you think that creativity is spirituality?
I absolutely do. I absolutely do. I mean, for me, it comes from that place. And if I didn't have a spiritual life, I probably wouldn't be nearly as creative.
What do you do when you're blocked? When nothing comes to you. A lot of people are paralyzed by it. A lot of people are afraid. They're afraid. And, what do you do to kind of...
I usually sit down with some of my absolutely most favorite music that just really moves me. And I'll listen for like an hour. And, I'll like maybe put that on my headphones, go for a walk or a hike out in nature. And usually I'll get unblocked. I may not get unblocked in the area that I'm hoping to get unblocked, because sometimes I'm writing a song and I just like hit a wall. And maybe I'll get inspired to write a completely different song. But I feel like once that unlocking happens, then maybe a few days later, suddenly I'll, be in the bathroom or doing the dishes or something. And then all of a sudden I'll get unblocked on that other thing.
All right. Just before continuing this conversation, for you, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. I personally recommend the audiobook The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, or you can choose the audiobook of your choice for free by trying audible.com. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/Fred. Again, that's audibletrial.com/Fred. You will be entertained, and at the same time, you will help a brother out. So everybody wins. Go to audibletrial.com/Fred for your free audiobook. How do you remain calm in uncertainty? And by that, I mean, automatically, you don't, it's not like you're going to have, it's not like you have a 9-to-5 job, when the paycheck is going to come every 2 weeks. And, you kind of always have to hustle. How do you remain calm in uncertainty?
Oh, that's a hard one. Because I think that's definitely true for entrepreneurs too. I mean, when you're first starting, you don't have this steady source of income, and you try some things and you try some different marketing outlets and you don't know if they're going to work. I think I stay calm by talking to people, number one, that have done it before me, and I see that they've also come from this place of this uncertainty place. And, they kind of give me an idea of how far down the road they hit that certainty, and it's never completely certain, but you can have this semi-certainty of what's going to happen after you've seen it happen enough times. And, so I would definitely talk to people who are gigging on a regular basis and making a regular income from that, and find out from them, when do you feel like you hit a point where you did have that certainty and it did calm you down a little bit? And what can I look for? What are the signs? Or, what milestone do you think I need to reach that it's going to put me, in line for that semi-certainty? And I think just talking to other people that have done it before me really calms me.
Yeah. Or just, sharing with other people who are kind of living the same thing as you, if they are positive people.
Yes, for sure.
You know what I mean? What do you think is a life's purpose?
What was that?
What do you think is your life's purpose?
Oh boy, that's no small question, is it? I think my life's purpose is to help and inspire other people to be creative and find their purpose. Because, with musicians, I think a lot of them are sitting on the fence with like, I feel like I have this musical talent, but I just don't know if it's something that I can do. And I want to be able to pull out of them, like, why do you feel like you want to do this music? And, what do you want to get out of it? And what do you have to share with the world? And I think helping them solidify that in their own mind and finding their own purpose is going to, it just really fulfills me.
We all have a message, through our work, and oftentimes artists have a message through their music, writers through their books. What is your message from, let's say, your music?
My message is probably no matter how much you're struggling in life, there's hope, and that I just want to encourage people that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, because I've certainly been through a lot of struggles in my life, and I know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, whether that is, a faith that you have, or just knowing that you will make it through, especially if you have a good support system. And if you don't have a good support system, to seek out that support system, because if you don't have that, you might not make it through, because you need that positivity in your life to push through those difficult times. Because I really do believe that a lot of it is mindset. Obviously, there's certain physical things. I've had plenty of physical ailments that I've had to get over. But I really think that I could be still stuck in that place if I hadn't have had the positivity and the encouragement of others that I'm going to make it through.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Do you have a mentor? Somebody who from a distance, can be somebody on television or a musician you never met, but you follow the career. Or do you have a mentor?
Oh my gosh, mentor as far as music. I don't know. When I first started in music, I really felt like I was very similar to Sarah Groves. I don't know if you know who that is, but she's a Christian singer-songwriter. She writes very positive music. It doesn't have to be Christian, but I felt like we had a very similar story. And so I've always kind of looked up to her. But most of my mentors are really in the entrepreneurial world, because that's where I've put myself for the past couple of years in really, really learning how to do the business side of this endeavor that I'm doing. And so, the mentors that I have in the entrepreneurial world would probably be like Shalene Johnson, John Lee Dumas, Kurt Malley. He's, currently one of my coaches, people that I've coached with in business that, have really, really worked with me one-on-one and given me the inspiration that like what I'm doing is worthwhile, and that, I can do it, and that, I really can have an effect on other people's lives.
All right, we're going to wrap this up. If you were stuck on an island, no one else, $500 in your pocket, a laptop, internet connection, what would you do in the next 7 days?
7 days?
Yeah.
Okay, so $5. I'm not sure what that would do for me.
500.
Oh, 500. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see, 500. Well, I would probably start developing an email list in order to, be able to communicate with people on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. And so what I would do is I would put some of my own music out there. This is assuming that I had already recorded some music. Mm-hmm. If I hadn't, I guess I'd have to use the $500 to get a really good vocal mic and record some music for myself and put it out there either on YouTube or then put it as a free download and give it away for people to get on my mailing list. and then connect with them. Because to me, like, the personal connection is the way that people have always bought my music. It's not about like, I heard it on the radio and I wanted to buy it. It's about, you know, I know who you are. I know why you wrote this song, and it really touched me because I felt like I understood your story and it was, you know, similar to mine. And that's why people have bought my music. And so I need to get the opportunity to tell them my story. And, you know, that starts with email, especially if I'm on a deserted island and I can't, you know, speak to them or perform for them. I would try to do that over email and social media.
Yeah. See, that's interesting what you just said. Do you feel that nowadays that's how people buy into what you're doing, by knowing you in a personal way, almost like, you know what I mean? Like, you're doing the podcast where you're kind of, you know, because before you had, like, let's say, you know, Michael Jackson. Okay. He was so distant. You know what I mean? It's like, it's either you can't really touch the person or the musician. Now I feel like you have to kind of be available more.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I always offer to answer. I mean, I ask people to tell me their story when they sign up for, you know, something that I'm offering and I want to give them music advice. I always ask them, I'd love to hear your story. And I try to connect with them personally, because I think that's really the way that not only you develop trust with them, but you actually develop a relationship and they get to know that you're a real person and not just some online entity that, you know, is living in a dark basement somewhere pretending to be something that they're not.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, thank you very much. Where can we find you, and where can we listen to your podcasts and your radio show?
Okay, so if you love to discover new music, go to wosradio.com or wospodcast.com and check out the radio station and the podcast, or you can find it on the app in any of your app stores. Or if you're a female musician and you want some tips on your career and how to move your career forward, go to femusician.com. That's F as in female, E as in entrepreneur, musician.com, fem musician. And you can listen to my podcast where I interview female artists who are having successful careers. And I also interview some industry professionals that give some really good tips on ways to build your career and your fan base and stuff. So connect with me there. You can always send me an email directly at Bree, BREE, at femusician.com. I'd love to hear from you.
Awesome, Bree. Hey, thank you very much. Very insightful conversation. Really fun. I really liked it. I learned a lot. It's fun to speak to people who are, you know, who are in the industry. It's really fun. It's really cool.
Awesome. I love it when people can learn from something I say. That's the best compliment.
All right, guys. I just want to thank Bree Noble. Thank you so much for appearing on the Creative Magic Unchained, which is all about inspiring you to unleash your creative powers. That's right. How did you like it? Did you like it? Was it inspiring? I know it was. It was. I love her answers. I love, you know, how we face our fears. I love how she talked about you know, how she deals, you know, with, you know, the reality of the business, where you have to be a business person to kind of make it as an artist, you know, and a lot of artists have a hard time with that, but hey, it's the reality. It is the reality. So thank you so much, Bree Noble. Check out her podcast. And as for me, right before we ride off into the sunset, I just want to say a few plugins real quick. All right, guys, check out the Book Geek Unchained. Yes, we talk to authors. It's home to literary marvels, those you know and those you don't know. It's really, again, it's a really inspiring podcast as authors share their soul to us. They share their soul with us. It's all about books, people. It's all about literature, and it is fun. There's nothing boring about literature. It is uplifting. It is inspiring. It is informative. Check it out. Check out my cool tools section on frederickby.com. I share with you guys books, software, you know, links you can go to so that it can help you and your business. If you're starting out, sometimes it's hard, it's it's complicated. I mean, I spent hours and hours and hours setting up my website, setting up, just my podcast, setting up my my blogs and stuff like that. So hey, I share a little bit of the tools that I use, for my business, then for doing this, and and then, well, you can catch me on Facebook, Frederick Bai. You can catch me on Twitter @ByFred. Check out my YouTube channel, Frederick Bai, for the latest episodes of the Book Geek and the Creative Magic Unchained. And with this, guys, stay safe and don't forget, live with purpose, passion, and love. Bye-bye.